Good evening, all, and a very, very warm welcome to Moyo Talks this evening. My name is Mark Bind, and I'm one of the co-founders of the Moyo platform and your host this evening. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to our Wednesday evening platform. If I can just make a few announcements before we start, you are invited to share your comments via the chat box, and you'll find the chat button at the bottom of your screen or on some phones at the top of your screen. And I'm just going to send a little message there now so that you can see where that comes up, and you'll be able to just post some comments into the chat, and that will be shared with our speaker this evening. You can also post your questions into the Q&A tab. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A tab. On some phones, it'll be at the top of your screen. Click the Q&A tab and you can type your questions in. And at the end of the evening, I will put those questions to Lorelei and she'll answer them for you later in the evening. And with that out the way, all that is left is to ask you to take 3 deep breaths. If you just take a deep breath in and exhale all your stresses and strains from the day. Take another deep breath in and just cleanse your energy. And then with your last breath, just bring yourself consciously into the space this evening. And it does give me great pleasure for us to be welcoming Lorelei Grimaldi. She is an experienced cognitive behavioral therapist, trained in analytic, psychosomatic, and psycho-corporal approaches, also trained in sophrology and EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Lorelei is also an organizational consultant, and she's got an MA in cognitive behavioral therapy and certifications in CER, FPA, and RNCP. She's going to have to explain what that is. And is a member of the French Society of Sophrology. So with that out the way, I am very excited to be welcoming Lorelei Grimaldi to our platform this evening. Lorelei, I'm just going to ask you to unmute yourself. There we go, and get your video started. And I'm really looking forward to hearing all about sophrology. And I've been looking forward to this event since I first heard about it a few months ago. So Lorelei, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mark. Well, first of all, thanks to everyone who's attending this webinar. I'm very happy to be on the other part of the screen. Thank you, Mark, and thanks to the Moyo Talks and to the 8 o'clock club for welcoming me and giving me the opportunity to talk tonight, because I'm always very excited when it comes to explaining what sophrology is, and when it comes to promoting this technique that you will see is completely fantastic here in South Africa, because you have to know something, it is extremely mainstream in France, even though here nobody has ever heard about sophrology. So as Mark said, I'm a therapist, I'm a psychotherapist, to put it simple. I focus on cognitive behavioral therapy, and I enjoy working with sophrology a lot because it brings me some amazing results with my patients. So ever since I trained in sophrology and I started using sophrology through my sessions, it changed everything in my relationships with my patients, but also in their results. So I'm very, very excited to tell you more about that. So tonight, I will be giving you a little sense, a definition and history of what sophrology is. And I will be explaining how it works on a neuroscientific, basic, very, very easy to understand principles. I will tell you more about the exercises you use with sophrology. And if we have time, I will even give you a little mental relaxation exercise so you have a sense of what it really looks like. I'll explain how a session works and who is the sophrology therapist. So yeah, that's about it. I hope you will enjoy this little talk. So let's start with a little etymology. Sophrology is from the Greek sos, friend, and logos. So sos is the harmony, friend is the membrane, the brain, and also in extension, the mind. And logos, as you might know, is the science, the study. So basically it means study of the harmony of the mind. So it is a psycho-corporal method. So you work on body and mind. You try to bring body and mind into harmony through the study of consciousness. So it doesn't appeal to subconscious. It's really what you live through on an everyday basis and what you think on the conscious mind. And some relaxation exercises. So these exercises are based on some oriental techniques of breathing that can relate to yoga. If some of you know yoga well, and also on some more oriental techniques, occidental techniques, sorry, such as hypnosis. So it does appeal to certain principles that can also apply to hypnosis. I will explain completely how it works further. So it was created in the 60s by a neuroscientist, a neuropsychiatrist called Alfonso Caicedo, who worked in a psychiatric hospital environment with some very violent techniques back then. So he had to face people dealing with very hard physical pain. That was his main concern. Lobotomies, electroshocks, and these kind of therapies that were pretty repented back then. So he decided that he needed to find a way to help his patients dealing with the physical pain without any medicine, so only through harmonization of body and mind. And he started to work on all the oriental knowledge that he had to associate it with his occidental knowledge. And he came up with this method that was first a simple relaxation method and mental preparation method to handle pain, to handle physical pain. Actually, he got the best results that he could hope for. So he did the study during almost 10 years. And what appeared was patients that could handle the pain, yes, obviously, but they also improved their sleep, their memory, their focus. They had a better way of dealing with their emotions in general. So it was very encouraging. And he decided that he wanted to take the technique out of the hospital environments and to see what it would give on people with healthy minds and things like that. And the first person who was very, very interested with it was a sportive coach, actually. So it started with, amongst the most famous sportsmen, Ayrton Senna, who's a F1 racer. There was also some very, very famous sailors. So basically some extreme sports where you need to understand how your brain works. And when you're outside of some natural environments, adapt your brain to, like, for example, during the car races, a speed that isn't natural at all to understand for your body and for your mind. Again, fantastic results. So it became very, very mainstream among coaches, sportive coaches. And that's how it got famous in Europe, because some sportsmen started talking about it. And then slowly it was used by therapists, and it found its way back to the hospital environments, because now you also follow patients with heavy diseases, a lot of cancers. It helps dealing with the treatment, the stress, the pain related, as I said. It's also a very good method to prepare a natural birth, because you prepare yourself for the pain, but also for all the emotions you have to cope with. It became also pretty popular around schools. So you do get Sophrology in every school in France, basically, for very young kids, in order to deal with their emotion, to understand them and to cope quickly with emotions, up to metrics and exams, because it's a good way to prepare yourself mentally for exams. So the results is usually quiet classes, concentrated children, better memorization, again, better sleep. So it does help you improve your performances. That's for the history. And it's been very popular in France since the years 2000. It's completely democratized. Everybody knows sophrology. You don't especially need to be dealing with anything wrong in your life to use sophrology. Some people also just go see a sophrologist to improve their well-being. So in order to explain how the exercises work, I need to come back on how the stress works and how the emotions works. So the stress is a physiological response. I think most of you know it. So when you have a stimulation from outside, that might be either a danger, or it can also be something very simple like a sudden change of temperature. The response is going to be the same from your body. So it will send you adrenaline, noradrenaline, cortisol, all these hormones that are going to be useful normally. It's very useful. It helps you, for example, run faster if you're in a situation of fear and you need to run away. It helps you see better. It makes you more efficient. But it's also something that comes from a very, very old background of the human race. And it was made for survival. Nowadays, when you have a high rush of stress or bad emotion, usually you can't run away. So when you're, for instance, in a job interview, you need to sit there. You don't need all the blood in your legs. It's completely useless. So that's one thing. So that's one thing, the exercises, you want to be able to manage that. It's also the same for any kind of emotions. So just to also make it clear, we do have 5 basic emotions. The rest, we call them feelings. But the 5 emotions, they are a reaction from the limbic system. It's sadness, joy, that are made to connect with the race. It's fear, in order to survive if you're chased. It's anger, in order to fight if you need to eat or to be the strongest. And it's disgust, because it's going to prevent you from poisoning yourself. So these emotions are simple hormone releases from the brain. So you have a stimulus, you don't control it, the brain releases the hormones that goes along with the stimuli, and you can't help it. It's just like that. It's how we are made. It's the end of a very long natural selection. But as I said, society evolves way faster than biology evolution. So we are now dealing and coping with these emotions on a daily basis that are not always appropriate to the situations. So the exercises are mainly worked out on neuroscience, scientific applications of how to regulate the emotions. So you have in sophrology 2 different types of exercises. You've got the physical exercises. They are based on specifically on breathing techniques, as well as some little smooth movements that are made to guide you through the breathing techniques. And you can put also an intention on what you do. So one of them would be to breathe in, hold your breath, shake your hands, and just you can put the intention of shaking away everything that you didn't want from the day, for example, and then exhale and completely relax your muscles. Very small example, but what happens there is that you're going to use your abdominal breathing, and you're going to hold your breath for a while. And if you do it the proper way, it will regulate the pH of your blood. It will regulate the oxygenation of your blood. Therefore, it will change its pH. And when the pH lowers, the limbic system regulates. So the fact of being able to control this will completely change the way your limbic system reacts to a situation. That means that even when you're coping on the moment with something, you can just sit there, do a little breathing exercises, and suddenly your vision of things change. You're able to see things for what they are and not what you project anymore. And it comes with a physical regulation of the stress symptoms or the emotion symptoms, actually. Except for disgust, that is very the hardest one to regulate. So that's what the physical exercises are made for, basically. You can use them anytime during the day in order to you can decide that to start the day with these exercises in order to just get rid of some tensions and prepare yourself to be in a good mindset. You can use them when you're coping with something, anything, or you can use them also because it helps with the sleep. So if you have a hard time falling asleep, or if you have a tendency to wake up during the night, they can also change completely your night. Then you have the mental exercises. So the mental exercises are based on a very simple principle that all psychologists agree on, basically. It's that imagination is as strong for the mind as reality. That's how you get people who can be phobic from things that they never actually experienced before. That's how you can just be very stressed about a situation just because you're expecting things in your imagination, but you don't know how it's going to happen. So if it works this way, it means that it also works the other way, which is a good thing to know. So basically, the mental exercises in sophrology are made to put positive above negative. It's good to notice also that we were selected again from a very long time ago to see the negativity before the positivity because it was a matter of survival before. Nowadays, we get way better results at life when we are able to put positive above negative in our minds. So how does it work? It comes with states that we call sophroliminal state. It's a state that you're in when you're nearly falling asleep. So you're between full consciousness and sleep. So you're not releasing A waves anymore. You're releasing C waves with your brain, and it's a stage where anything that you address, any message that you address to your brain, will anchor deeper. It's what hypnosis uses as well. So the difference between hypnosis is that you just implant an idea in the mind. Whereas with sophrology, you work on the consciousness. So you will ask a person to be conscious about what he's doing on the moment, so the relaxation exercise, and ask him to visualize things in order to put positive above negative. So it can be working on the fear of dog, as well as projecting yourself winning the next competition you need to win. So it appeals to very personal details. You need to listen to how one speaks, what the words he uses, the things that he likes or dislikes, and to tailor a mental exercise for this person. I hope this is clear, but obviously I will answer any questions that you have at the end. So the combined, those two types of exercises will give you keys, actually, a better knowledge of yourself, obviously, of how you react, why you react, and when it comes to be able to anticipate it sometimes also, and notice some patterns, and to have proper tools to use in case you actually need to cope with something or you completely need to prepare for something. But I'd like to show you what a mental exercise can look like. If you can just sit back still and follow my voice for a little moment, I'll walk you through a mental exercise so you have a real sense of what it looks like. So it won't be tailored for each and every one of you, unfortunately, but it will make you understand how, when you receive a message for your brain in a very relaxed state of mind and a relaxed also state of physical state, it comes differently and it anchors properly. So this one is a mainstream one made for everyone. It's not as powerful as if it was tailored, but it's already, again, it will give you a little understanding of what it looks like. So if you can just, wherever you are, sit back and just try to let all your muscles relax a little bit. You can take a breath in and just slowly exhale and let your muscles relax even more. You can pay attention to the points your body is resting on. So if you're on a chair, it might be your back, your pelvis, your legs, your heels, your feet. Just think about that. Focus on your brain as well, on your breathing, sorry. Try to slow your breathing down a little bit. And now you can focus on your head and your face. Imagine a point at the top of your skull and let the relaxation spread from this point through your skin. Relax your forehead, your temples, and throne. Relax your eyes, smoothen your eyelids. You can close your eyes if you want. Relax your cheekbones, your cheeks, and tighten your jaws. Let your tongue rest naturally. And just be aware of your head and your face. Be aware of your head and your face relaxed. Now you can let the relaxation spread through your neck, the nape of your neck, your shoulders, your trapezius, your arms. Relax your elbows, your forearms, your wrists, and your hands down to your fingers. And take a moment to be aware of your upper limbs completely relaxed. Now you can pay attention to your back. Try to imagine all the muscles along your spine relaxing bit by bit, from the top to the bottom. Feel your back becoming more flexible each time you breathe. And picture your whole back completely relaxed. Now you can turn your attention towards your chest and your stomach. Try to pay attention to your breathing. Observe the moves of your rib cage when you breathe. Feel your ribs opening, closing, slowly, regularly. Try to perceive your heartbeats. Feel your stomach relaxing, and again try to perceive the moves of your stomach when you breathe. Feel your stomach going up and down, regularly like a wave. And tighten your guts. Relax your abdominal belt completely. And let the relaxation spread through the muscles of your hips, your gluteus muscles. And be aware of your whole torso completely relaxed. Now you can let the relaxation spread through your legs. Relax the muscles of your thighs, your knees, your calves, your ankles, and your feet. And be aware of your lower limbs completely relaxed. Be aware of your entire body completely relaxed. Now, wherever you are, try to imagine yourself. Try to look at yourself from outside. Look at your face. See yourself quiet. And just get a bit higher up so you can look at yourself from above. Look at yourself here in this room. Picture the room, the furniture, its shape, and get a bit higher again. Picture the room in the space. Imagine the shape of the space, the size, any detail that you can perceive. And get high enough so you can see the whole building from above. Look at the roof, look at the land maybe. And get even higher so you can look at the building in the street. Continue to get higher and imagine the streets in the neighborhood. Again, try to see any detail that you can perceive. Cars, trees, urbanism. And continue your ascension. And you can slowly look at the old town. See its shape. Beaches, mountains, wherever you are. And get high enough to see the town in the region. Again, let any detail that comes to your mind appear. And get far enough that soon you can see the whole country. Look at the borders, the coasts. Continue to get away and look at the country in the continent. Look at its shape, its immensity, the oceans that you can soon perceive as well. And now you can see Earth from far away. Admire its beauty, look at its colors, look at its movements. And take a second to look around you. See the universe, see the stars, the comets, satellites, colors, and just enjoy for a moment the quietness, the serenity, and the ability you have to take a step back on any situation. You can slowly look at Earth again from far away. Admire its beauty. Look at its shape, its movements, its colors. And prepare yourself to very slowly move back towards Earth. Enjoy the journey. Take your time. And slowly get closer to Earth so you can spot the continent you're in. Observe it, its shape, its colors, the oceans. And slowly focus on your country. Get closer. Look at the borders, the coasts. Look at any detail that you can perceive. And slowly get close enough to look at your town again from above. The streets, the neighborhoods. And slowly get closer to your own neighborhood. Look at the streets, any detail that comes to your mind, and get close enough to your own street. Look at the cars, the trees, the gardens, whatever you see, and focus on your building. Take your time, look at its shape, and slowly get close enough to get in. Look at the whole space you're in, its size, the configuration. And again, very quietly and very slowly, look at the room you're lying in. Try to see the furniture, the shape of the room. And when you're ready, look at yourself. Look at your face, quiet, relaxed. And feel your skill, your ability to take a step back when you need. And just enjoy the sensations for a second. And now you can slowly take a moment to really anchor in your mind the idea that whenever you need, you can see things for what they are and not what you project. You're able to take a step back very fast. Anchor this thought in your mind. And slowly think again about the resting points of your body. It might be the back of your head, your shoulders, your back, your arms, your pelvis, your legs, your feet. Just acknowledge them. You can take a deep breath in to revitalize yourself and strongly blow out. Breathe naturally. Try to pay attention to all the sounds that you can perceive. You can imagine the space you're in. You can slowly move your fingers, your hands, your toes, your feet. You can stretch or yawn if you need to. And if you had your eyes closed, you can open your eyes. I'm just going to take a few seconds to let anyone who would still be very, very relaxed to come back to its mind. His or her mind, sorry. I hope you enjoyed this little exercise. So this is a good example of what mental exercise can look like. This one looks a bit like meditation because obviously it's not tailored for one person. But if you are in a therapy or in a mental preparation with a sophrologist, this therapist will ask you many questions about the situations you like, the habits you have. He will pick up on every word you say, use the same vocabulary to address something to your mind. So it can just be creating a safe space in your mind in order to be able to access anytime you need. If you're under a lot of stress, for example, and you need to just decompress quickly at some moments. Or it could be also applying some strengths that you have to other fields in your life. So, for example, you would be very comfortable talking in public, but very uncomfortable meeting someone on one-to-one, and you would just try to apply the strengths that you have in public in order to apply it to a one-to-one. Or it can also be, obviously, as I said, mental preparation. So for a sportsman, it will be, for instance, I don't know, a tennisman will work on his service as much as if he worked it for real on the field, but in his mind, just decompose the movement completely from A to Z and do it over and over again perfectly in his mind. And that's the good side, is that you kind of gain experience, proper experience, because as I said, and I will remind it, imagination is as strong for the mind as proper experience. So you just gain confidence and you gain a good, well, you just better your service by doing the exercises over and over again. So there are called exercises because the more you practice and the easier it becomes also. You have to remember it. And it's more efficient if you do it on a regular basis, if you commit. So I wanted also to explain quickly what a sophrology session looks like. So if you see just simple sophrologist, you will have a session that occurs this way. You will talk a little bit they will explain the aim of the session because they will tailor a program for you. So they will always remind you what you did before, explain the aim of this session and maybe the aim of the next one in order for you to really understand what the way is. You will have a little time to talk. It will give them a sense of how your week went, how the exercises went, what works for you, what doesn't. It will also sometimes help to recenter the objective or the aim. And then they will practice exercises with you. And again, ask you, it's very important after the exercise, especially the mental exercise, to acknowledge, so to talk, to speak out what you went through in your mind, and just to put it in words. So it's very easy to understand. The mind understands everything better when he puts it in words. There's a very famous and simple experience that shows it pretty well. So they take random people and they show them some very horrific pictures. Some of them are asked not to speak. Some others are asked to speak, to describe what they see. And 3 months later, you bring back those people, you ask them again. So the people who didn't speak, they usually remember worst, way worst, and they have a hard time with details. They won't be very, they will be very approximate with details, whereas the people who just explained and talked while they were looking at the pictures have it pretty close to the reality. So that's why it's important to talk, and that's what a session looks like. Talking about interesting studies, there's another one that's worth mentioning, I think. It's a German study on soldiers that is still happening currently, but the results are pretty amazing. So soldiers who are at war, so who are properly going to fight situations, some of them are asked before they go to write something, anything. So it can be a story, it can be a letter, it's often letters apparently. But nothing will be done with their writing. They can write anything. If they come back, they can throw it away. They do whatever they like. If they don't come back, nobody's going to look at it. The aim is just to give them some time to connect with their inner world, because usually when they are in this situation, everything is completely different. You have no timing for eating. You have no contact with other people. You're out of your country. You're completely nothing's alike. So just the fact of writing something for a few minutes, like the fact of just connecting with how you feel, what you think, just connecting with your head, your nose, your face. All of this is it creates safety for the brain. And the results of this study is completely amazing, because actually 100% of the soldiers are free from PTSD when they come back. So it's a revolution for German soldiers, like properly. So yes, I think you got a sense of what a session looks like, but again, you can ask me some questions later. I personally, as I said, I'm not only a sophrology therapist, so some people come to me because they just want to work on sophrology. They're not interested in psychology, in working on their subconscious. They want to do something very concrete to stop smoking, for example, and they need some help, and they're willing to just commit to it. So that happens, but most of the time I mix cognitive behavioral therapy with sophrology, and I find it amazingly efficient, because I'm able to understand the bias, the subconscious bias that lead the people to how they feel and what they do, and to give them some very, very concrete tools to act upon things, like on a pretty much directly, so they don't, well, they still need to work on the origin of the issues, and it's always better, from my opinion, but they also don't need to wait all this time sometimes for the brain to do the work, because they also have tools in order to handle and to cope. So that's, for me, it's a very good combination. And I'm going to end with what is a sophrologist, like legally speaking. So in France, it's a proper status. You're reimbursed by medical aid. You follow groups or individuals in hospitals, on sports fields, in private practices. So it's, as I said, it's wide. It's very wide. Here, a sophrologist, but sorry, just to be clear, it's also a technique that comes usually in complement of other things. So you can, unless you have a very small matter, you're doing insomnias and you don't want to take medication, you can just go see a sophrologist. If you have whatever harder condition, whether it's mental or physical, it's a good complement. Here, a sophrologist is basically nothing. It's not recognized by the South African law at all. It's not reimbursed. So it's a very new technique that I'm willing to expand. There is another sophrologist in Johannesburg, but from as far as I know, we're only 2 in the country. I hope this was enjoyable, that you liked the talk and the exercise. And I see that we still have time, but I'd really like to be able to make it clearer and answer your questions now. If you have any questions, I will be happy to be able to answer.
Great. Thank you very much, Lorelei. That was very interesting and such a lovely exercise that we did. So I'm going to invite everybody to post their questions into the Q&A tab, and we'll give Lorelei a chance to answer those. Already there's a question from Marianne asking where you practice from.
So I do, for the moment, I do have a private practice. It's in Gardens in Cape Town. And I also practice at the French school, and I can practice at the French Alliance if needed. But usually I see my patients at my private practice.
Okay. And do you also see people online over the internet with a video call, or is it all in person?
Oh yes, no, it happened a lot. That's true. So it happened a lot lately. Yeah, absolutely. Now I do have some regular sessions. I also suddenly had some people calling from France and London a lot for online sessions. So yes, it happens to me. Yes, it does. It's true.
Okay, thanks. Lizelle's saying, wow, thank you. She loved the exercise, says it was very powerful. All right. So you mentioned working with insomnia. Are there any other sort of specific conditions that you work with?
So again, the range of action is very wide. I do get a lot of insomniac people. I do get a lot of people struggling with everyday life anxiety, like anxiety, proper anxiety. I do have a lot of people with trouble like eating or sleeping disorders. Well, sleeping disorders, I said it. Eating disorders happens a lot. And mental preparation, mainly.
Yeah.
But I also
that
had
sounds
many
very,
people,
very amazing.
when I practiced in France, the dealing with addiction was something that I encountered a lot as well. Yeah, so whether it was just cigarettes or even other things, other substances.
Okay. And I'm sure the French community in Cape Town are big supporters of your work.
So far there are, yes, they've been great help. There are many French people here. It's nice to see them, but I'm also super excited to explain what sophrology is amongst the South African community, and it's what I prefer actually. It's more exciting for me, and well, I'm here. I came here to see South African people. So
yeah, lovely. It'll be great to share your work locally. Just one more question before we wrap things up. What about using sophrology for weight loss?
So yes, as I said, I do get people with eating disorders, but it happened to me once actually. Someone who came to quit smoking, but who ended up going away with like 60 kilograms lost. So that was a real success. And she was also very committed. So it was for her, it was a good, it was good tools to resist. That's what she needed because she had the mindset already. But this person needed some, just some tools, yes, some tools to relax. And the simple fact of being able to control your level of stress during or even before you know that you're going to have maybe to deal with some stress, it changes everything. Because again, you see things more for what they are, less for what you project, and suddenly well, it changes your mindset completely. It changes also your wills and the things that you want. So you might, well, you won't want so much food usually, or so much sugar, or so much carbs, or whatever. You will be focused on some other things. That's nice. And again, it's you don't have to go deep. The thing for many people who come just for sophrology, they don't want to go deep inside the why am I eating, or why am I having an eating disorder. They don't want to get into that. They just want the tools. So
Okay. So a question from Pam. Did you refer to the alpha states by name?
Uh, oh, the alpha. So the alpha waves. Yeah, I
Yes.
remember. So by name. Sorry.
Yes. So I'm not
Um,
quite sure what the question means, but
no,
how did you
me
refer
neither.
to it when you were talking about it?
So when you have different waves that your brain produces according to the level of awareness you're in. When you're completely awake, you're releasing what we call A waves, and it means that you have a high level of electricity, energy, flow, and everything. When you're in the sophroliminal state, so basically at the end of the whole body relaxation, you're not releasing the same waves anymore completely, at all, I mean, sorry. So it puts your brain in a stage that's as easy as it sounds. I hope it answers the question.
I think so. So there's a question here. Where did you train in sophrology, and can it help for depression?
So I trained in France because there are no sophrology school here whatsoever. I trained at the Coreva Institute of Paris, which is a very good school. I was very happy with it. It's a 2 years training, full time, with some internships and like proper on the field formations. And can sophrology help with depression? Yes, it can help with depression. It can come in complement of seeing a psychiatrist or even just a psychologist, even though I do normally also cognitive behavioral therapy, but we can divide it into. Or it can also, you can, if the depression isn't installed since a very long time, it can be useful. Yes, it can be some very good tools, because what happens, I don't know what this person is going through, but as we talked about the stress hormones, and what I didn't say is that when you get too much cortisol, so you're actually made to naturally stop the production of cortisol when you find a solution to your stress factor. But we live in a society where you sometimes never find solutions to your stresses. So it can be your boss, it can be the traffic, it can be anything. And your body is made to keep releasing the hormones on and never lower them down. And this can have a bad impact on health. So that's also how, when you say you got a cold, it's not the cold that makes you sick. Actually, the cold is a stress factor for the body, not for the mind, but the body regulates it as if it was stress. And you get too much cortisol, and it has a bad impact on your immune system. So that's like the small version of it, but the bad version of it is when it gives you depression, like properly physically. So yes, once you're able to have tools in order to balance the hormones, it can have a huge impact on depression. Sometimes you will just need that. Sometimes you will also need therapy. It really depends on the person.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Lorelai, do you have contact details? How can people contact you if they were interested in taking this further?
So I would love to have people taking this further. As I said, as we talked about, I would love also to be able to offer to anyone who followed this talk 10% reduction. So if you come to me, tell me that you did follow the talk, and I will give you a special price. I don't know if you have the flyer, but so you can, I have a website that is called sophrologycapetown.com. You can find all my contact details on it. And yeah, or if you can show them the flyer, everything is also.
Yeah, I'll be emailing your contact details to everybody tomorrow
Thank you
morning
so
with
much.
the recording of this. and everybody will receive the flyer and that special offer. So thank you very much for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
And yeah, we'll send all those details out. So Lorelei, thank you very, very much for your time and your wisdom this evening. It's been most enjoyable, and it looks like everybody's enjoyed what you've had to say. So thank you very, very much.
No, thank you, Mark. Again, I'm always thrilled when it comes to yeah, just transmitting so what Sophrology is. So I was very happy to be here. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Thank you. So for everybody else, I'd just like to let you know what you can look forward to next week. Next week, we welcome Jeremy de Tolly, who is a musician who's fairly well known in South Africa. He is doing a webinar, The 4 Keys to Healing Your Voice, how to turn a stuck or unreliable speaking or singing voice into your greatest asset. Now, I have seen his webinar before because I got a sneak preview some time ago, and it is remarkable. So if you're interested in that, join us next week, Wednesday at 8 o'clock, and you won't be sorry. One more time, Lorelei, thank you very, very much. I look forward to hearing more from you in the future, and I do hope people contact you. I'll send your details out tomorrow morning.
Thanks
Everybody
a lot.
else, see you next week. Thank you very much.
Goodbye.